Hi, I'm Mark Amarola. Joining me tonight is Melanie Edwards, the CEO and founder of Mobile Metrix. Melanie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Melanie, could you talk a little bit about how you came up with Mobile Metrix and what problems did it seek to solve or deal with?
Well, it came out of just living abroad in many locations where there are a lot of invisible people, so to speak, and realizing that we oftentimes don't know how many people live in these communities and really what their wants, needs, habits, behaviors. We knew nothing about their conditions, and there are not many organizations, hardly at all, that were actually giving a voice to their wants and needs. So the idea came out of realizing that there had to be a way to aggregate that knowledge and make it in a centralized voice so that, that people can be more accurately served with information, products, and services.
So as a professor of social entrepreneurship, what is one piece of knowledge or one field that you want your students to really learn more about? And are there any gross misconceptions about the field in general?
Right. I think the greatest thing for social entrepreneurs or budding social entrepreneurs to know is that they can do it. And whatever problem, and we hope it's a big, hairy problem that they're out to solve, to not hesitate or not necessarily start a solution on their own, but they could join other organizations and build upon. But it's the whole philosophy of it, it takes a group of people to solve a big problem, and it can be done. The misconception is that it has to be, that it's just social or it's just environmental. I mean, really it's entrepreneurship as a whole, but before long, every social business is going to be a social or environmental business. And that's what I think the misconception is, that there's for-profit businesses, not-for-profit, or there's traditional businesses and non-traditional businesses. But eventually, I think you guys are voting with your dollars and you're voting with your careers, and that's causing the bigger companies to also be more socially and environmentally minded.
And how do you think your time spent at for-profit organizations like JP Morgan has kind of shaped your outlook on that?
Right. Well, first of all, it's the business acumen. I mean, it's really, and that's where I cut my teeth, right, was on the for-profit side. So whether it be JP Morgan or AT&T, or whether it be International Data Group, all of those had systems and processes in place and really thoughtful about how to use money to do something, make a product or a service. So that kind of professional discipline, I think, is brilliant to take and then apply it to making a social environmental impact.
So what made you make the transition to non-for-profits after working for so long in the private sector?
Yeah. And when we started Mobile Metrix, there was not a for-social profit type of entity. It was either the traditional for-profit or the not-for-profit. Wanting to keep the social environmental at the forefront, meaning impact first versus money, there was no other choice than nonprofit. I could have gone the for-profit, but if I got hit by a bus, then there's no way to keep that impact necessarily at the forefront. The nonprofit, the social good was always at the forefront, so that's why we went that route. But now we're revenue generation, now we're exploring the for-profit entity, so you can be a hybrid. There's a lot of things that have changed since we started.
And how did your experience and time spent with the Peace Corps, how did that kind of lead you to the socially driven work that you lead now?
Yeah, that was fundamental. It was the seed, because being dropped in the bush of Africa, if you will, in the village, and looking around again, seeing this invisible population that no one knew they existed, much less, what their habits, their behaviors, again, their perceptions, their attitudes, their conditions of health, educational levels. That was mind-blowing and stuck with me through my JP Morgan, my AT&T career, IDG, to really realize, whoa, wait, how can we apply technology? How can we apply research? How can we apply finance to give those folks a voice? So it was very instrumental.
It was a perfect storm, if you will.
Yes.
So now I have to ask you the question that we ask all the social entrepreneurs who come in, and just what your single best piece of advice for a young up-and-coming social entrepreneur who's just looking for the first step to take?
Before taking the step out there, take the step in here. Find out what your passion is. Really, it's like whispering to, listening to the whispers of your soul, and it takes being alone sometimes to figure that out. But really, what moves, touches, and inspires you, It could be what pisses you off, too. I don't know if you edit this, but it could be what really makes you upset, because that's going to give you the fire in your belly to go out and change the world and change that situation. So step inside before you step out.
Wow. Thank you so much, Miss Edwards.
You're welcome.